Hi YouTube, Live here. If you've been watching my content, you know every few months I'll release a long format video that isn't just Valorant or CS highlights. Here's another one, and in my opinion, the thumbnail is not clickbait. And as a very late update, I had to retool a bunch of what I had planned to say because of the recent bombshell dropped by Shongaris, but more on that later. But before I really get this video going, let me provide some context. I've been playing FPS games for a long time. Halo, COD, Battlefield, over a decade of CS. I took a break from playing competitive game modes because I was beating myself up over not being able to get into those higher ranks. But when I started streaming, I came back to comp game modes, this time in Valorant because it felt like it could be something different. Well, it was different. The Val community has gotten a bit annoying at times, but it is still the Weenie Hut Jr. versus COD and CS's Salty Spittoon. I haven't seen any major heated gamer moment in Val in my time playing compared to the daily occurrence that you hear in COD or CS. Actually, to be honest, I haven't played COD since Modern Warfare 3, the OG Modern Warfare 3 on the Xbox 360 back in the day, so I really can't vouch if it's still like that or not. Anyway, the point is, the Valorant community is extremely tame. When I started playing comp in episode 6, there was positivity, there was focus, there was teamwork. I saw teammates trying to win. It was everything I had in CS, just minus the racism, homophobia, etc. However, at the end of that episode, and all the way up to the present, I started encountering people who were trying to lose on purpose. Sure, in CS you would encounter griefers, but it's nowhere to the level of what happens in Valorant. In Valorant, I run into solo players, duos, trios, even quad stacks that work together to lose on purpose. It came as such a shock to me as to why people would do this that I felt I had to warn players of this behavior because it was something new and not normal. Oh yes, this was different alright, and not in a good way. In my Throw Talk video released at the end of episode 6, I talked about my easy to follow flag system to help you determine if someone is throwing or not. If they tripped 2 flags, they are suspicious. If they tripped all 3, it was pretty easy to confirm that they were throwing on purpose. That in its own is a decent way for average gamers to tell, if they couldn't tell already, if someone was intentionally sabotaging the team or not. After I made that video, I installed the Valorant stat tracker from tracker.gg, as it tells you a lot about players with public profiles. Along with using my flag system and the stats from my competitive losses, I created my loss record experiment series for episode 9 after making the bold claim in episode 8 that it felt like 90% of my losses were because of people throwing on purpose. Lo and behold, it was actually 90% or higher for episode 9 over 3 different North American servers. And now we get to the point of this video. The amount of throwing in this game is killing any credence to the idea that Valorant is a competitive FPS. And that statement comes from a multitude of things. From the rank distribution, to pros and content creators stepping away or retiring, to riot support going from genuine people with genuine flaws to inherently flawed AI. And the latest breaking news dropped by Shongaris regarding the match fixing and alleged cheating and underground gambling rings. I'll get to all of those in this video, so here goes. Starting with the rank distribution. This is where I started to retool my statements as to what I had planned on speaking about went from bottom up and now evidently it's more like top down. In most FPS games, you have your brain-dead players at one end, the pros on the other, and a healthy amount of average in between. This is what is known as a bell curve. Now I had this whole long nerdy stat thing that compared the percentages of which players were in which ranks in each game, and that how CS had a slight advantage by having more players in the middle to middle high ranks, which implied that CS fosters a better competitive spirit compared to Valorant, and that's backed up by the high volume of throwing that goes on in Valorant. But because of the Shongaris bombshell, I now know that these percentages in Valorant aren't just manipulated by the community, but by the pros and the organizations in Tier 2 that work to keep legitimate competition out of the higher ranks and the Tier 1 pro scene. This was like a good 10 to 15 minutes of me yapping about numbers and player morale and mental health, and the community turning toxic. So shout out to Shongaris for saving me all that extra work. Thanks. To follow that up, we have to get the pros and content creators' reactions in here because I think there may be more to the story than the general public may realize. As some of you are aware, pros and content creators have been stepping away or outright retiring from Valorant at an alarming rate. The golden boy of Valorant, Tens, has retired from pro play, as well as Finesse, both of whom have had their time in the spotlight with CS. We also saw Saucy, S Scary, and Julia No also stepping away from pro play, although Julia did a 180 and signed to G2's CS pro team instead. Maybe that's a sign of things to come? Quick side note here, also just announced Scream is making his return to CS. I think he's signing with his brother. Anyway, so yeah, that's one more Valorant pro that is now switching back over to CS. When it comes to content creators, Jules TV, one of Valorant's most recognizable creators, stepped away from creating Valorant content because he claims that there is only so much content creators can do to generate content from this game, and that people with poor mental health are ruining the desire to even play. But hold on a minute. CS has been around for so much longer, and the content just never ends. Valorant's only been around for 5 years now. It has to be something else, right? My guess before the bombshell was that the community had become so repugnant that the pros and content creators are just stepping away so they aren't forever associated with this toxic community. Now, after the bombshell, I think that the actions of the tier 2 pros that have been throwing match fixing or even allegations of cheating allowed by Riot devs have ruined any chance of legitimate skill being developed to even get to the middle high ranks, and therefore get spotted on the pro scene's radar. These actions have already been seen by the tier 1 pros and content creators, and they have been trying to distance themselves from this game ever since. Again, this all adds to the notion that Valorant is quickly losing any credibility of being a competitive FPS. When even the pros are willing to throw their games just to keep tier 1 from facing off against any sort of real competition, it doesn't bode well for the community as a whole. Even the support devs have had enough. That's a joke. It's more likely that Riot let a bunch of them go during their house cleaning operation. That includes Joellen, the dev that used to do the patch notes, and also probably gave me their last Riot gun buddy before they got canned last year. Anyway, I've gone through several suspensions because I call out the throwers and D-rankers who are just Diamond or Ascendant and have a sub 40 or sub 30% win rate. And they in turn mass report me because I'm just trying to get out of their D-rank lobby ASAP. I've had one rescinded when I made a ticket and chatted with a real live human. The others, well... At least you know they were human and they tried. But it seems like in Riot's cost-cutting measures, they decided to go with an inherently flawed AI that gives you automated responses. When you get an automated reply with language like, a support agent will get back to you if you were wrongfully suspended. That's corporate speak for, we fired our support agents because our bosses want bigger profit margins this fiscal quarter. There is no support agent to check if you were wrongfully suspended anymore. And chances are high that they've given this message out to many more just like me. And that sort of policy is going to kill people's morale and ruin their chance of ever wanting to come back and enjoy the game. But to add to that, I don't think that the addition of a replay system or the changing of the game's engine is going to do much to bring Valorant players back the way it used to be. Now, I honestly still really like the game. The abilities are fun, the skins are cool, getting a clutch defuse or a round win still gives you that dopamine rush. But at the end of the day, it's the players that make this game enjoyable, and nobody wants to play with or against throwers. Nobody's skill is going to improve if there are players on either team who aren't trying to improve either. But if the community doesn't correct course, or if the pro scene isn't completely demolished by this Tron Garrus bombshell, I don't see this game being relevant by the end of the decade. Alright, that's a lot of yapping from me. If you liked the video, drop a like, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace out.